Hello everyone, I'm Lufko and welcome to a new video. Today's video is gonna be spotlights should you open for the next few weeks. So I have the schedule of all the data mine spotlights. The spotlights can change their data mine, so they can obviously change. But yeah, let's do a quick review of all of these weeks that are data mined so far. So yeah, let's start. This week we have right now on spotlights Madame Web, Silk, and Alliance. Is this a good week to open? It is a pretty solid week. Alliance is a great card. Silk is a pretty solid 2-5 that can go and do some good stuff in some specific lists. And then you have Madame Web, who is a not a bad card, not an amazing card. Some people may have overhyped her. She's still not bad. Now with War Machine, she became a little bit worse because War Machine takes out a little bit of Madame Web stuff because of the you storm one lane. Then you can access that lane with Madame Web and opponent can't. But with War Machine now they can access that lane. So yeah, it took out a little bit of those things. Still, Madame Web very solid card. This is a pretty good card to open if you haven't yet. Anyways, moving on to next week. Next week we're gonna have Araña, Miss Marvel and Sage. This week is a 100% open. Araña is mostly gonna be a move card. She's mostly gonna be in move decks. Great ability for cards like Human Torch or Multiple Man. Great ability. But she won't get just those. She will also work great with Scarlet Spider, but we'll get to that next. Araña, pretty solid card, and another card with Activate. Miss Marvel, one of the best 4-cost cards in the game, and Sage, same thing but with 3 costs. These are some of the best cards in their own costs. So I'd say this is a pretty good week to open. If you're saving your keys, this is a pretty solid week. Plus, these variants are amazing too. This Sage is really good. This Miss Marvel is pretty solid. And yeah, moving on. Scarlet Spider. This is one of my favorite cards this season because you just buff it. You buff it's a 4 cost. You buff it with a Force or a Hulkbuster or something. It's a 4-8 unshangable, and then you just create the clone, and you have two 4-8s. You have a 16, yeah, or 16. I mean, base just it's just a 410 as base, and if you manage to buff him a little bit, of a lot more. Then we have Scar. Scar has been doing some work recently in decks because lately a lot of people have been playing with Beta Meteors type of decks. Beta Meteors, for those who don't know, is decks that have those 10 power cards, cards like Cold, cards like any 10 power card that you can think of. They usually have them, and you just try to get those out early, and then by the last turn you have a very cheap card, which is, I don't know, a 211 is great. So pretty solid card that's been doing some decent work around the meta. And White Widow, I said Sage and Miss Marvel were two of the best cards in their own cost. White Widow is the same thing for the 2 costs, and plus, if you already have this variant, is amazing. This White Widow variant is just amazing. So yeah, another pretty solid week. Scar might be the weakest one here, but other than that, it's a very good week to open. And now we move on to the next season. This first week of the next season, we have Scream. When an enemy card moves, steal 2 power from it once per turn. Man-Thing and Mobius. Man-Thing and Mobius, very good cards. And Scream, the biggest home for Scream will be the decks that just mess your opponent. Cards like Spider-Man, cards like Stegron, Arrow, all of those cards will really help Scream. Because yeah, moving, you're moving up opponent cards, and you're stealing 2 power from those cards, and Scream is getting them. So that will be the biggest Scream type of decks. but I can also see her doing some good stuff in other decks. Yeah, that will be the biggest type of Scream decks. Should you open this week? I guess this still there are some very good cards, but this can be considered a bit of a skip week if you can. If you're low on resources, skip this week. Mobius, good card, ain't that necessary for stuff. Same thing with Man-Thing and Scream. In the decks where she will be good, those decks will be great. But outside of that, I don't really see a lot of use for her. So if you're looking for weeks to save your resources, save them here. Next, we move on to Misery, War Machine, and Namora. So Misery, on reveal, repeat the unrevealed abilities of all of your other cards here and then destroy them. Yes, this week you should 100% open. War Machine, one of the top tier cards right now. Just and once the all of the hype of War Machine dies down a little bit, because now almost every deck is running War Machine, and if every game has War Machine, then the plays that make War Machine good just aren't that good, because you can do them and your opponent can also do them. But once all of that comes down, War Machine will be a great, even better card. Namora is a pretty underrated card, just usually as 516. And if you can put off some Wong Odin stuff with her, then you just get some huge numbers on the board. Some huge numbers. So yeah, Namor, another pretty good card, a little bit underrated. And Misery, a great addition to the Destroy decks. A very solid addition to the Destroy decks. Just, I don't know how she will work with Venom, because my guess is she reactivates Venom, so Venom eats everything, but then Venom gets destroyed. I don't know how she will work with that. I think that's how it will happen. I don't know. She's gonna be some a tricky card, but I mean, just armor with some reveals. You put on that's a mini, pretty much an Odin. Just reactivates everything, and you don't destroy anything because Odin no, because armor. So she will be a pretty similar card to Odin, but with 4 cost and 7 power. So really good card. So should you open? Yeah, you should probably open in this week. And it also depends on what cards are you missing, but I'd say this week is a pretty solid one to open. Now we move to Scorn. When you discard this, give its power to one of the cards in play, return this to your hand with +1 power. So Scorn is a card that you just wanna keep discarding. You just wanna keep discarding Scorn. Because you discard Scorn, uh, it has 2 base power, so that 2 power goes to a card in play in your side of the board. Then Scorn goes back to your hand. You discard Scorn again. It adds 3 power to a card. It just goes on and on. So very good card. One I don't know how. If you discard Scorn twice, then it's a 1/5 without being played. Well, a 3/5 power without being played. So pretty good card. Yeah. Jean Grey, eh, she's not that great. She's not that great. I thought of using Jean Grey with War Machine, just an ongoing Spectrum lockdown type of deck where you just try to mess with your opponent with Jean Grey and Goose, try to limit where your opponent can play stuff, and then War Machine makes you a able to play whatever you want, whenever you want. But Jean Grey is not that good. So it's also not that good. So it's a solid card in Surfer decks. Outside of that, I don't see so anywhere. Now, should you open it this week? I'd say skip this week. This week, skip it. Unless you really want the variance or you really want Scorn, skip this week. Show is only good in Surfer. Outside of Surfer, Show doesn't have a lot of homes. Scorn will be a great addition to this card. SCOR, I like SCOR, but Jean Grey's also a very mid card. Skip this week. Just skip it. Moving on, we have Toxin, a Battle Beast, a 2-1 that just gets +2 power for every card that Toxin returns to your hand, so kind of like a Beast Carnage type of card. It's pretty much a Beast Carnage, so pretty good card, a very good addition to bounce decks. Zabu. This is where it gets kind of tricky because probably in the next parts, which will be on Tuesday, that's when a bunch of those cards that aren't that great, for example, Hellcow and Black Swan got confirmed, they're both gonna get the activate keyword instead of staying with on reveal. They are both gonna change to activate. Sub is one of those cards that might get changed. It's not sure. It hasn't been confirmed, but it's one of those cards that might get the activate. Now, Sabu with activate will be better because the bad thing about Sabu is being limited to you need to have the 4 cost next turn so you can reduce it and do stuff. Now with activate you can just leave it on the board and whenever you want get that cost reduction for the next turn. So this is gonna be a tricky week because of Sabu. Elsa, pretty solid card. Uh, Pretty much only goes in Kiri type of decks. Sometimes outside of that, that's her biggest home. Should you open in this week? I'd also say skip it. We'll see how they make Zabu, and if Zabu just turns out to be one of the best cards in the game after the patch, then maybe it's open, but for now it's a skip. Toxin is great, but mostly just in bounce, and if you don't like bounce, Toxin is just not gonna be used. Yeah, I'd say skip unless patch changes things and makes Zabu busted again. Now we move to Anti-Venom, the last week of the next season. So Anti-Venom, set the cost and power of your desktop card to 0. Abilities are determined, and this ability I think it might need some work. I, just this week is a full skip again. This week it's a skip. Unless you really want one of the cards, this week skip it. Now Anti-Venom, the only pretty much good home that I see, I mean, I can see him having some good homes, but in negative decks with Duck, with Howard the Duck, or just not even negative decks, just decks that don't really get hurt by having the power reduced to 0. In decks that don't get hurt by that, that's where Anti-Venom will be good. And why Howard the Duck? Because the deck says the of your deck's top card. Top card is the card that you are gonna draw next. So with the deck, you know when you need to play Anti-Venom. Because you see, your next card, it's Iron Man. Then play Anti-Venom, you get a free Iron Man. Great value. But if you don't have that, you might get a 0-0, I don't know, death, for example. And a 0-0 death is just not good. So this week, we'll see how Anti-Venom gets released, because all of these cards are data mine, all of the newer cards, and abilities will probably change a little bit. They usually change the data mine abilities or the power and cost. So we'll see how they release. But just right now, skip this week. Anti-Venom is probably the worst card of next season. And yeah, this week just skip it. Alright, and then we move to November. This is gonna be November season. So we start with Fenry Wolf and Ilus and Werewolf by Night. This week I'd say yes, mostly because of Fenry Wolf. Activate, resurrect the highest power discard or destroy enemy card to your side of this location. So you play Fenris Wolf, you let him just stay on the board for the whole game, and then on turn 6 you shun a card from your opponent and you Fenris Wolf it. Because now that we know how activate works, you can shank and then activate and then resurrect that card for you. So you still have 10 plus power card thanks to Fenry Wolf and Shang-Chi. So yes, really solid card. Again, it's November, so this card might change a lot till this release. Werewolf by Night, he's not that great right now. He's in a he was he's better than he was, but he's still not in a great place. And Ilus, on the other hand, is a pretty good card. And Ilus, we're not in an Ilus meta right now. We don't know where we'll be in November, but he's still pretty good. Just sending over, clogging your opponent and giving them some negative power cards. Pretty good card. So this week I'd say yes, because Fenris Wolf is gonna be broken. And I'm really thinking this will get changed, but we'll see how it turns out. But yeah, this week I'd say yes, but again, cards can get changed. We'll see how it releases. Alright, then we move on to Frigga, Fina, and Valentina. This week, we don't know Frigga's ability, so we don't know what she's gonna be like. As for the other two cards, Fina very good, Valentina pretty mid. This week I'd say the key card for you to decide if you should open will be Frigga. If Frigga turns out to be a very good card, then yeah, go ahead. If not, unless you really want Tina, skip this week. It ain't that worth it. Next up, Malekith. I'd say this week you should open 100%. We don't know Malekith's ability yet. It hasn't been data but Red Guardian, a pretty underrated tech card. It can just ruin your opponent. It can ruin them. And Copycat, one of the best cards in the game. So yeah, this week, hopefully Malekith is pretty good, but still very good with to open. And then we move to the last week of data mines. It doesn't have a new card. We just have Kawan Legion this week. Skip. Just skip. It will depend on the new card, but last time I saw they did something like this, it was when they put the Nightforce Nico back in spotlights. Because that week there were Hope Summers and Proxima Midnight. Those two cards were the ones that showed up just like this. And they just added Nico as the third card. So this week, unless you really want one of these cards, skip. It's not worth it. Skip it. And yeah, that is all of the cards, all of the spotlights that's mine so far. So just be careful with your keys, just tokens, be careful with your resources. Go for the weeks that you really want. And good luck with everyone opening the spotlights. If you like this video, give it a like. Let me know if you want me to do more of this. Once more weeks get data mine and or cards change and all that. And see you next time. Bye bye.